sheba jide Yubun duwe kalon yurwa lana meba lada mina ge namba sanye jomde Shajan tuba la jaza lo shudu gyabzun She sheba rajumba yanta param zobe sangye rikpa da shabzu demba devara Jigden gembe gibun dewe kalon yurwa lana meba hada mina ge demba sangye Be gewa shagya tuba la shaza lo chudu gyabzu Tishin sheba rajumba yanta paran zobe sangye rikpa da shabzu demba devara Kembe gibun duwe kalon yurwa lana meba lada mina ge demba sangye jomden debe gewa shagya tuba la shaza chudu gyabzu Que damanse sajen de la comba dumbo ne l'année jigden de na choje Deze keba que la cha zalo nanda kunga chodo susan Ishi gyazo sirgi lumbo ra Taba jigden sumna la mewa Gombo chonye que la cha Senjo demba timen dawe she Sedo dawa ke la cha Dede geda seba suma chi Nyame kenje ke la cha Salo Che demba tamje kenbe demba bo Sunma yende gyadu she Tishi she la cha Abim de cha chewa gyurung Gewe nye son le zhe Chido dendama shoujo pa si gyuro chola cha Tunen tuwe lamyon du laba tala rabdu ne Shinge damba yunden de gelo layan cha Chola cha zelo gyuba chola cha zelo gelu de la cha Sumla tadu kujan ze cha Shingde gunge danye ge le de paye nam gun to chodo debe cha Yewa puzum sobara che range simne yonsum du dine sangye temba Karma rabre mame dan gyoma seba chubo dan me lama lo dan jila Deje chunama de brata sunamandi tamche sikbai Gobon tunne yunge tadde gada nadan shive labdru Sive solem rovan truvarasho
Next, praise the praise to Manjushri.
Om Shizu Jambe Yala Cha Cha Ye Lo Dre Dimye Dre Yeda Nanda Rasewe Jinye Dunga Jishe Seje Yege Toka Levante Wala Sibe Sura Mare Mudon Dumye Kesewe Yoso Gula Kushi Tase Yala Chushu Yandesu Chuna Cheru Nyumo Nyelo Lege Charu Truzeshi Mari Muse Dunga Nyuku Chinye Chunze Redena Dene Tashi Saju Tasu Yande Ruzo Yase Tuwe Chuda chuda chuni gente dalu muse jambe yalalu Sende kyuji kera useki dalu timu membarase Kadan tenju shunlo dobayi lodu kobe mawase dosu Chuji medo chama Rava Lingje Yende Genpa Migde Vuwa Ye Droga Namda Shingla Chogara Sho Radna Mendala Kamne Reya Kaya
Next, page 10, the Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. Page 10? Oh.
6.
Seems like some
Some
books
6.
are 10, some are.
6.
Heart of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra.
Paba Gunjo Sumla Cha Salon Digen Dage Teba Dijena Jumden De Gavu Kaba Chagu Pungwe Rila Gemonge Gendun Jembo Da Chanju Sembe Gendun Jembo Da Tabji Du Shut Yeze Jumden De Same Nawa Shechawe Chuge Namrange Dingen Zila Nyumbra Yang Di Ce Chanju Semba Semba Chembo Paba Jire Se Onju Sheraje Paredo Chimba Same Cheba Nila Nambra Pumbo Ngabo Deda Laya Ranshinge Tomba Nambra Tao Tene Sanje Gi Tu Tedan Demba Shari Bu Chanju Semba Semba Paba Jire Se Onju La Dige Je Meso Rige Pu Kanla La Sheraje Paredo Chimba Same Cheba Chebaran Deba Chida Labara Cha Dige Je Meba Dan Chanju Semba Semba Chembo Paba Jire Se Onju Ye Tedan Sharim Dade Pula Dige Je Meso Shari Pu Rige Pu Hama Rige Pumo Kanla La Sheraje Paredo Samu Jeba Jebaran Deba De Dedra Namba Tawa Chade Pumbo Ngabo Deda Laya Rajinge Tomba Nambara Yandawa Jisu Su Tomba O Tomba Nye Su 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 Le Tomba Nye She Maye Tomba Nye Le Yang Su She Maye No Te Shen Do Surwa Dan Du She Dan Nambara She Tomba O Jerembo Dedra Je Damje Tomba Nye De Tse Nye Meba Ma Ye Ba Ma Ga Ba Tima Meba Tima Dan Dewa Meba Dewa Meba Kawa Meba O Shere Deda Vena Tomba Nye La Sumen Surwa Men Du She Men Nambra Sheba Men Ni Men Nawa Men Na Men Che Men Lu Men Ye Men Su Men Da Men Ti Men Ro Men Reja Che Me Do Mi Ge Kam Meba Ne Ye Ge Kam Me Yige Nambra Shebe Kamge Pardoya Medo Marigba Me Marigba Seba Me Gaje Sebe Pardoya Medo Tishindo Dunge Wadang Kunjo Wadang Goba Na Lame Yishe Me Toba Me Matoba Ya Me Sherepo Dedawe Na Chanju Semba La Toba Mebe Shire Shirabye Paredo Chimba La Tenje Simlan Driba Meje Traba Mede Shinji Lole Shindo Dene Nyange Len Debe Tara Chindo Tuzumundo Nambara Shube Sanje Tamje Chirauje Paredo Chimbala Dene Lana Meba Yanda Baranzobe Chanju Do Ngambara Zoba Sanje So Deda Chirauje Paredo Chimbenga Rigba Chimbenga Lana Mebenga Minyang Bada Nyambenga Dunga Tamje Rado Shivara Chebe Mizu Bena Demba Sheba Chade Shiraje Paredo Shimbenga Meba Deyata Gade Para Samgade Bodhi So Sharepo Chanju Semba Jembo Dedra Shiraje Paredo Shimba Samola Labra Chao Tene Jumden Dingen Zen Telesh Chanju Semba Jembo Paba Jere Se Anjula Lexo Shejawa Jine Lexo Rigi Bu Dedeshin No Rigi Bu Dedeshin De Jidra Kyuge Demba Jindo Shirage Paredo Shimba Samola Jebra Jade Tishin Sheba Namya Jizu Yirango Jumden Dege Jeka Tsene Tsedan Demba Shari Dade Buddha Chanju Semba Paba Jere Se Anjula Tamje Dan Dembe Koro Deda Lada Mida Hama Yinda Tiza Jebe Jide Jumden Dege Sumba La Baradu Deya Ta gade gade para sam gade bodhi soha papa kunjo sungi kaya debe dungi midimbe chotam je chire oba yuje meba yuwara gyuru ji giri tongra gyaju shiwada midimbe kena chewada tumba ruje kuzum so traji de gyang dengdere dele sho.
Then turning to the next page, or skip the translation if the translation is on the next page, to the refuge and bodhicitta verse. So in some books it's on page 12. Sorry. 12, page 14.
Sangye Jodam Soje Shonam La Chamju Pardo Dane Gyapso Che Dage Choeje Jibe Sonangye Dola Vinche Sangye Prokasho Sangye Jodam Soje Shonam La Chamju Pardo Dane Gyapso Che Dage Choeje Jibe Sonangye Dola Vinche Sangye Prokasho Sangye Chodan Soje Chonan La Chanju Pardo Dame Dagi Choeje Kibe Sonam Ge Dola Penche Sangye Druparasho Adan Lame Medame Anje Humbodan Gaje Lazo Choge Chola Chawa Cheba Sangye Sumba Rabdo Shishin Dewe Gyurgyuba Teta Jige Dambe Chunye Chenen Dire She She Namo Lai Ke Dam Budam Nishenge Drepung Tada Mi Ke Namda Droa Funge Tranam Jizamba Tamje Ge Do Dage Choten To Kange Denjen Rewa Junga Wa Meba Ge Meba Sheba Meba Dam Meba Wa Meba Dro Meba Tade Tume Tujume Treba Nye She She Denba Zogbe Sanje Manam Ge Tamba Te La Cha Se Lo. Okay. So continue teaching on wisdom, and wisdom is the most important factor in training the mind, and somehow our mind need to be trained because our mind has a lot of potential, and somehow, from the Buddhist point of view, we say that sim ki rangshin verselwa. Mind, the nature of the mind is pure and clear. Timanamne luburwa means the stain that is on our mind. It is just a temporary. Luburwa means it is just temporary, and so when we train our mind, so mind has an ability to get better and better and better. So it is kind of like a very different from the physical matter. The physical matter, so for example, like if we want to train our physical body to make it better, then it has a limit, right? It's just kind of like you can train your body to certain level. Then from that, you cannot actually go you cannot actually improve more. So physical body has it doesn't have a potential to grow into infinity. So somehow our mind has an potential. So we need to actually train our mind or kind of like utilize our mind. So sometimes maybe training can be a little bit misleading word, because we think that training means okay, some sort of like a military training, and then kind of like doing some kind of like putting a lot of effort, right? It is like something kind of like we think of it like a exercise, and so Zhongwa, Tibetan word for training, is like we call it lojong, right? Like many of you know this term. Like there are many Tibetan practice called the lojong practice, this lojong practice, that lojong practice, and most of them are kind of literally translated as a training mind training or something like that. So somehow it is like like in our mind, how can we actually develop? How can we develop the qualities in our mind? So somehow our mind has a potential to be positive, and to actually to take our mind in a negative way, that is also an optional. If we want to take our mind in a positive way, that is also option. So somehow we do have an option. So what is better for us? Like, do you like to have your mind a positive mind, or do you want your mind to be totally negative? Right? That's kind of like if I put it in a very simple language, it is just kind of like we all experience in our day-to-day life that the more negative our mind is, then the more negative experience we invite. Right? We actually experience many negativities if we have a negative mind. Why? Because when we actually kind of like train our mind to be a negative, so training our mind to be negative means we are allowing our mind to go into this negative state. In other words, to be sort of like what do you call pessimistic, right? Pessimistic, like if you let your mind to go into the negative, and if you always want to think negative, like say for example, you want to think of yourself as a negative, and if you want to see the people around you as a negative, and then every single thing in the whole universe, if you kind of like see like with this negative mind, then like it is a very dark place, right? It is just kind of like we kind of like continuously suffer, and we actually experience a lot of unnecessary suffering because of the negative mind. Because mind is the main thing. It's kind of like many things that is we experience in our life. It is depending on how our mind is. So it is like the negativity is like if you bring negativity in your mind, then it is like because you see everything, you experience everything through your mind. So then it is like you are putting a negative veil, negative kind of like a shade, right? For example, even in our eyes, if you put a blue glass in, then you will see everything blue. If you put a yellow glass, you look at the snow mountain, you will see the yellow snow mountain, right? That's because it is not because the mountain is yellow, because you put a yellow shade on you. So you see everything yellow. So that is what, like when we put negativities in our mind, then what happens is you starting to see everything negative. And everything sort of like, oh, this is not good, this is not good, this is like and what happened is then you just kind of you avoid everything and you just kind of go into this like a deep, dark place. And sometime in this modern day, people call it depression, right? It's just kind of like psychologists actually kind of say if you go into this dark place that you kind of like a totally hopeless, you become like a totally miserable, helpless, hopeless, like totally then, and that's a negative, right? That's the consequences of negative mind. So when you have so many negatives in your mind, negativities or negative thoughts in your mind, then it is kind of bringing like a lot of darkness into your mind. So we need to bring some positivities, right? So the positivity is like bringing, when you actually bring the wisdom. So when you bring the wisdom, wisdom is like the light. Okay, so wisdom is like the light. And the more clear your mind is, then like you actually become more positive. Like in a way, sort of like you become more open-minded. That is just general English language, I will say, right? Just kind of open-minded. So there is kind of like, see, what is the opposite? What is the opposite of open mind? Narrow mind, right? Or the closed mind. So when someone actually has a narrow mind, what happens is that they only kind of think of me, myself, I, my life, my, sort of like it becomes so small. It's just kind of like it is just your concern only about one person in the whole universe. It's just kind of your concern is like only, just kind of all about this one person, and even that one person is not yourself. That is the idea of yourself. You have constructed some kind of idea that is called yourself, and then you are trying to build this like a castle of happiness in this idea of self, imaginary self. So that is where it is kind of like we are missing, is we don't have a light, we don't have a wisdom in our mind. So that is why bringing wisdom into our mind is one of the most important thing to develop our mind, or in other words, training our mind to reach its highest potential level. Because mind has so many potential. And mind has a potential to make us miserable, and mind has a potential to make us happy. See, this is both. It has both. Because the most of the time when we go through suffering and unhappiness, it is mainly making by our own mind, right? It is made by our own mind, because somewhere we are like our mind is torturing ourselves, right? Mind is torturing, and that is why bringing wisdom, right? The bringing wisdom into our mind is the best training of the mind. And if I just kind of simply say in our day-to-day life, like for example, if you are like going with someone who is totally pessimistic, right? Totally negative, just kind of like they see everything negative. They see themselves as a negative. They see their neighbor as a negative. They see their community as a negative. They see their country as a negative. They see the whole world, everybody is negative. And do you want to spend more time with that person? Right? It's just like it's so tiring, right? To be just to be hearing about all this negative stuff. It's just like I already have negative things in my life already, but then you are adding to more negative information on me. So it is just kind of like to be with someone who is pessimistic is very tiring, not happy actually. So if this is what we are happening with the then we should also think, if I become a negative person, then am I bringing happiness to the people around me? That's fact. Right? It's not some kind of made up. It is not a theory. It's a reality. It is a fact. So that is why kind of being like making our mind positive, and if we make our mind positive a little bit, sort of like a opening, then what happens is we will have a different perspective, because you are actually you are seeing everything from a different perspective. Because when you see things from a different perspective, then what happens is your perspective is actually widening. Right? Your perspective widen. That is very important, because a perspective is very important for when our mind is very narrow, what happens is our perspective become very narrow. So when our perspective become very narrow, and see, that's if I give you one example, you look at this one stone on your hand, right? It's just a little stone, and so you bring it very close to your eyes, just right on above your eyes, so close that what happened? What do you see? You see a huge rock, right? You see a very huge rock. Just kind of okay, you don't see any other thing other than this rock. So that is a very narrow perspective. And that is exactly in our day-to-day life. Our perspectives are very narrow. Why? Because when we see the difficult situation or challenging situation or circumstances in our daily life, we look at that situation with a very narrow perspective. And we look at this with a very narrow perspective, and we don't see any other thing, only that one. And that also huge, very huge. But in reality, maybe it is not so huge, it's not so big. It's the problem is not so big, it's just like your perception, it is just your interpretation. Why? Because you took it so close that it looks so big, and now it looks so big, it feels so big. And when it feels so big, and then it becomes this is it. Then we don't see any other thing, only this problem. And we look at the problem, and then we actually sort of we become the problem, almost like a non-dual. We become our kind of our mind become non-dual with the problem, and every single thing is related to that problem. And then sometimes how we say in our words, right? If someone doesn't like you, and one person doesn't like you and say something bad to you, and you come to your home and you are telling your family, and you're just saying that everybody hates me, right? That kind of expression, we say that. And so you look carefully what you're saying at that time. When you are saying that nobody likes me, everybody hates me, right? Everybody hates me. But what is the reality? Reality is maybe one or two people or three people. But how we take it. Now we take it, our perspective becomes so small and so narrow that just kind of that one person who is insulting you become a 7 billion people. So you see, the whole 7 billion people in your idea is that they are all hating you, and I am just alone, and everybody hates me. See, when we say that word, when we make that kind of statement, very negative statement, and we do that sort of like spontaneously, right? Spontaneously. So where is why are we doing this? Because first of all, our mind is so narrow. Second of all, it is we are like we see it very, with a close mind. So wisdom is lacking. There is a lack of wisdom even in our day-to-day life. So if we just bring a little bit of wisdom in our mind, then what happens is our mind become little bit open. When your mind become little bit open, then you are seeing things from a different perspective or a wider perspective. When you see things from a wider perspective, it's different. And our mind has that potential. Mind has a potential to look at the situation not from one direction. It has a potential to look from 360 degree point of view. 360 degree horizontally, 360 degree sort of like vertically. So mind has that potential. So we have to use it. If we don't use that whatever potential that we have, and we just kind of like put ourselves, okay, my mind has no potential, it has only see from only one perspective, only from one direction, then we will go through many problem, like one problem after another problem. So that is just I'm not talking from a religious point of view. I'm talking from a general way of life. General way of life. Like this kind of like a simple wisdom. Just if you bring that small, simple wisdom in your day-to-day life, you will become more positive. And the more positive you become, you see how thing changes. Because you will start experiencing more positive. The more positive you actually feel, then that is what it called the happiness. Right? So that is why wisdom has is the tool, like bringing more wisdom into our mind. And so that is why when we actually look at, and even in the Bodhisattva way of life and the chapter 8, the wisdom, it is actually, we are learning about how our mind works. How our minds work. So yesterday, even in the two different schools between the mind-only school in the Buddhist, tradition, and then there's a Madhyamika school, and how they are actually discussing, right? It is just kind of like there is a discussion is very important. So that is why there is in the chapter 8, there is a lot of discussion, question, what if this one, if you say this, then this will happen that, this will happen that. So, where yesterday we are at this verses about mind-only school, when they say, when you actually look at them like a mind, so the mind-only school, what they are describing is they are saying that there's no external things exist outside of the mind. Everything is in our mind. And then the Madhyamika school actually trying to, say that nothing is outside of the mind, and then everything is inside the mind. Then where is the mind? That's the question. So, that means that mind is also in the mind, right? So that's they have to establish that. So, all the appearance, the outside appearance, everything is outside. Like for example, there is no difference between this cup and the appearance of that cup in my eyes, right? So there is a appearance, right? Appearance of an eye. Like for example, look at this glass flower, crystal flower. So this crystal flower, this, like we all see, we have an appearance of this crystal flower, right? So where is this crystal flower? So mind only school says that it looks like it is out there, but actually it is not out there. It is in our mind. It is just the appearance in our eye consciousness and appearance in our mind. So it exists only in mind. So okay, so Madhyamika say, okay, now say that, okay, now this is good. But then what they are investigating, what they are analyzing is they are analyzing where is the mind. So where is the mind? So that means mind is also in the mind. That means there should be another mind that sees the mind. Right? There should be another mind that sees the mind. And then mind only school, actually they said, yes, that is true. There is a mind. Then mind has the ability to see itself. Then, the Madhyamika school is actually sort of like refuting it, kind of. Why? First of all, mind cannot see mind. And Shantideva is saying, I'm not just saying this, and he is quoting Buddha. So Buddha's teaching, Buddha says that mind cannot see mind itself because the sword cannot cut itself and the tips of the finger cannot touch itself, and your eyes cannot see your eye itself. So these are kind of, Buddha said that, So then there's also a kind of logic way of understanding that mind cannot see the mind. And then they ask the mind only school, okay, give me an example. And they are like, okay, mind can see itself because the marme, like the candle light, the light can lead itself. Right? For example, if you bring the light into the darkness, in dark room, so it will make everything illuminated. At the same time, it illuminates itself. Like you are able to see the light, because the light illuminates the light. But then Madhyamika said, no, light cannot illuminate itself. Why? Because it doesn't have to illuminate. Do you think? Light doesn't have to be illuminated because it is illuminated. It is light itself. Light doesn't have to illuminate. If light has to illuminate light itself, then darkness has to cover the darkness. Like darkness will darken the darkness. So if darkness will darken the darkness, then when you look at the dark, you will not see the darkness because darkness is covering the dark. Right? So that part, I don't know, you will get that or not. So this is like a little bit quantum physics theory, like, light and dark matter. What is the light matter? What is the dark matter? Maybe we have to study science a little bit. So anyway, so this is all analyzing the mind. So this is a good way to analyze the mind. So does mind see the mind? And then, like they also have a point, the mind only school point. Actually, mind sees the mind because if mind doesn't see the mind, then how can we remember something? Like for example, yesterday I did something like this, Yes, like I went to grocery store yesterday, or I went for a walk yesterday, or I eat like yesterday I had this lunch, right? So like today you are remembering, like when you remember what you had for lunch yesterday, and so because you remember, it is there is in the memory, that means when you are having a lunch, you saw yourself having a lunch. That is why you remember today. So that is a very good point, actually. Right? Of course, the mind-only schools they did a lot of research. It is not like they're just randomly talking. They actually put this kind of like philosophy, or like they came to this kind of establishment by doing a lot of investigation. So they are not just saying it. There's no reason. Like sometimes people say, oh, they're like because we know the Chitram, like a Madhyamika way, and now the mind-only schools they are rubbish. But I think they are not really doing any rubbish. They are just really saying something that is making very difficult to answer. How do you remember? Because then, Madhyamika also said to remember something, you have to see that you are doing it. Then, as yesterday, we did some analyze, right? Say, for example, yesterday you are having a lunch. And when you are having a lunch, did you see yourself having lunch? Right? There is somebody else that like a second person or third person, did you see yourself having lunch? So that's the question. Do you remember it that way, or do you remember as a first person eating the lunch? Right? So this is one very big debate that Madhyamaka and Chitramatrans were doing. All right, so where is my English text? Okay, maybe I didn't bring it. You have the extra one?
We have two inside one. I hope it's this one.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I will go a little bit with the text of the Bodhisattva Way of Life chapter. And we are on 24, right? 24 verses, page number 5. Okay, verses 24. So, Chitramatran question: if someone with the necessary causal conditions such as concentration can see the consciousness of other from afar, therefore it must be possible to clearly behold one's own consciousness which is so near. So that's also a mainly kind of saying clairvoyance, right? Somebody who sees the other people's mind. So with the meditation, some great master, the great meditator, they will develop this ability to see the people's mind, right? Other person's mind. So that is Chitramatran saying, these great meditators, sometimes they see the other people's mind, and why can't they see their own mind? That's the question. And Madhyamika said, this is not necessarily so, because although from application of an eye lotion censored by powerful attainment, like a treasure vase can be seen far beneath the earth, the eye lotion itself, which is much closer, cannot be seen. So this is kind of a little bit traditional. I think some stories that they have, sometime there is some kind of like a miracle lotion that is made. The substance is they put the mantra, and then if you make this mantra correctly, then somehow if they put that lotion, that is kind of like blessed by the mantra, and somehow they can see the underground treasure. There's a kind of sometimes, we have some kind of story like that, right? In the Western also we have what is that called? Elixir, right? Elixir, which is some kind of a lotion or liquid that if you put that elixir to the metal will turn into gold, right? I don't know, maybe it is just a mythological story, maybe it is maybe in the past, in the ancient time, maybe there is something like that. Who knows? Because we never been on past, right? But we cannot say whether these are true or not. I don't know. But this master is a 8th century master. Maybe during his time there are some people who with the mantra power that they can put the mantra and then they like to some kind of lotion, and then they put that on their eyes, and then they can see underground treasures. But this is kind of they're saying they can see the underground treasures, but when you put the lotion in your eyes, you cannot see the lotion, even though the lotion is so close to eyes, right? It is almost the lotion is touching the eyes, but you cannot see the lotion itself. So that is why your example is not correct. That is what Madhyamika is saying. So Chitramatan say, if self-cognition were non-existence, so like seeing self, other cognitions would also be non-existent. So, like if self, what do you call the self-cognition or self-seeing, if you don't see yourself, then you cannot see the others too. That's like saying, if self-cognition were non-existent, then other cognitions would also be non-existent. Therefore, there would be no such thing as seeing, hearing, and so forth. So how can you see something? How can you hear something? Because you say that mind itself is not inherently exist, right? Madhyamika say mind doesn't exist inherently. So somehow when it is kind of like really going into saying that if mind doesn't exist inherently, then mind will not exist. That is the Chitramatan way of saying. Chitramatan, like mind only school, thinks that mind exists because it is self-exist. So Madhyamika school, Shantideva is saying mind doesn't exist by itself because it is dependent, it's a relativity. Then Madhyamika answered that the mere appearance of seeing, so seeing like that function, right? The seeing, hearing, perceiving are not being negated here. We are not trying to negate here. We are, these are like on the relative level. If you say, is there a form? And you can see the form, yes, there is a seeing. There is a sound, yes. And then, like when you hear the sound, there is a hearing too. But that is all in the relative level. On the relative level, on the appearance level, I'm not negating it. And what I'm negating it doesn't exist by itself. Nothing exists by itself. Nothing exists inherently. So it is the conception of them as truly existent that is to be reversed, since this is the cause of suffering. So now Shantideva is saying, because we see things, right? Because we see things very solid outside, and in the appearance it appears like that, and somehow we actually believe how we see is the truth, right? It exists as it appears to us, and that is the cause of suffering. So many of the unnecessary suffering that we are experiencing, this is caused by that delusion. So somehow that's a delusion. Delusion meaning like you see something and you believe it is the true, right? For example, you look at the illusion, right? You look at the illusion, and the illusion sort of like illusions made something beautiful flower, and like say for example like illusion make a very delicious food right? And then like you look at that food and oh, this looks so yummy, this is so delicious, and then what you do is because you believe that there is a real food there. And because you believe that there's a real food there, you get so attached, and then you will chase after it, right? You will chase after it, and then it is like when you chase it, you don't get it because it is not there as you see. And then when you don't get it, what happens is you suffer, right? There is like for for example, like a mirage, right? When there's like a very hot weather, and you are very thirsty and walking in the desert, and then because of the heat, so you really want to have a water, and then you are walking, and then in the far sand, there's like a mirage is coming, and the mirage looks like a water, and then if you know that is a mirage, then you will not run after it. But if you believe, you see it like a water, and you think that is the water, what happened is you will go toward there, right? You will go toward there, and when you go, then it is not there. And then what happened is you get a huge disappointment, right? So that is the suffering, right? So that's just an example of Shantideva is saying like that. Then the Chidar Mataran said, these illusion-like objects are not external objects other than the mind. Yet, although not others, they cannot be considered as being the mind itself. Thus, they are phenomena which are indescribably other than the mind. So, they are still answering. They are saying that whether it is whatever it is, everything is in mind. Because it is in mind, that is why we suffer. Because we see outside, we see it external, and then we actually think that is external, it exists outside of the mind, and that is kind of like Chidar Mother is still saying that, mind should be there, because if there is no mind, then who is experiencing? Who is experiencing all this? Who is seeing this? So they are not really letting go of that strong kind of what you call theory. So Madhyamika is saying, if something is a thing, how can it be neither the mind nor other than it, none other than the mind? It has to be one or the other. But if you say that it is neither one or nor other, so they are saying, what you see is that, so they are actually, Chidar Matra is saying, it is in the mind, but they are not saying it is mind, okay? Because they are kind of like in the word, for example, everything is in the mind, right? Everything is the appearance in the mind. But all the appearance in the mind, are they mind or not? Then they will say, no, they are not mind. So that is what Madhyamika is actually now investigating or analyzing, saying that it should be one or another. If I ask you, is that a mind? They say, no, it is not a mind. Then, is it a matter? Then they are like, no, that's not a matter. So how can it be? There is something that is not a matter, not a mind, it doesn't exist. So Madhyamika is kind of debating like that. Then it would be not a thing, because such a thing could not possibly exist. Just as in the Chitramatana system, illusion-like objects are not truly existent, but can still be seen. Similarly, although the mind is not truly existent, conventionally it can appear as the beholder. So that's the point. And then Chitramatana says, so let's say of cyclic existence, samsara. Cyclic existence means samsara, the state in which subject and object appear as a two substantially distinct thing. Sungzin Ze Shen, that is what they call it. Because in samsara, so Chitramatana way of saying is, because we see the object and the beholder, the observer, two separate, right? So the separate entity, and that is the main cause of the suffering. That is what the mind-only school is saying. So, has as the basis of deceptive appearance something real, namely a truly existent non-dual consciousness. Otherwise, if it did not have something real as its basis, it will be just like space and would not be a state which could appear as real objects and subjects and objects. So then Madhyamika says, number 28, if the dualistic state of cyclic existence depended upon something real, how could it have the function of appearing as real subject and object? It will follow that it could not, because real, the truly existent things do not exist. Thus, in your tradition, whatever is mind would become a solitary, non-dual consciousness unassisted by any object. If it were true that in this way the mind exists separately from the object, then all sentient being will become Tathagata or Buddha. Therefore, what advantage is there to considering the basis of cyclic existence to be merely mind? So that is the kind of final refuting the how Madhyamika refute or reject the Chitramatan. So if I kind of too much explain here, then it will confuse you. So just kind of I will leave it on surface like that. So now B, establishing as the path of knowledge that deceptive truth are like illusion. So somehow the actual wisdom is seeing that everything is like an illusion. So this keep coming up. Everything is like an illusion. Everything is like illusion. It is saying that appearance. The appearance is exist. Appearance. Exist in the appearance, but it doesn't exist in the existential level. So see, that is the if you kind of do a lot of analytical thing, then mainly sort of we understand what is the appearance and what is the existence, right? The appearance of the for example, when we have a difficult situation in our life, what is the appearance of it, right? What is the appearance of it means, how do you see it, right? How do you see it? How does it appears to you? How does it appears to you? And so how can we apply that wisdom is, first of all, we need to know how do I see it? How does it appears in my mind? And once you clearly see how you see it, then the next question we have to ask ourselves is, does it exist that way? Is it that way? Am I whatever I see, is it true? Is it true? But in all the cases, how the appearance, it is not always true, right? Not always true. Because, for example, many times in our life, when we look at our future, right? When we look at our future, that is what many people, we are all worried, right? When the worry comes about when we think about our own future. So what is going to happen tomorrow? What is going to happen next week? What is going to happen next year? What is going to happen after 10 years? What is going to happen after 20 years? And then our mind goes on, and what is going to happen if I die? Or, in between that, am I going to die? So our mind sort of see our future. So what is the appearance of it? We can be honest with ourselves, It is you don't have to tell other people, but you tell yourself, how do I see? When I look at my own future, what is the appearance of my future? And learning from our past, and how many times until now, so many imagination that I had, so many appearance that I had, so many, fear. So many fear that I have, and how many of all these fear that I had really came true? Then we will know that maybe 99%, right? 99% of the, things that our fear, whatever it sees in our fear, didn't happen, right? It didn't happen. So then from now until, in the future, so it should be same, right? If it didn't happen, then why I'm putting a lot of energy, like I see myself, right? Like when you look at your own future, then you see yourself in a very terrible condition. That's the appearance, right? That appearance is like we have to work on that. We have to work on that to be able to understand that this is just an appearance. This is just an appearance. It is just my mind is tricking me, right? Your mind is tricking you. And your mind actually sees and make you see this because of some kind of fear, because of some information, right? For example, if you are if you brought up into this like a very strong religious belief of like the original sin, and we are all sinner, and then the final destination where we are all going to is we are all going to hell. If you brought up into that kind of a, you are brainwashed, thinking that just kind of like a, kind of like spontaneously, if you think I'm a sinner, that's not positive, right? It's just kind of like I'm sinner, you are sinner, we all sin, and because we are a sinner, then we are all going to hell. And sometimes I think even in the Buddhist teaching, I met some people like that. Like even in my own Buddhist tradition, that some people make other people so much afraid, like putting some image in their head, saying that you are bad, and then now you are definitely going to hell. You're just going to hell. And then in their mind, they create this image that they see themselves in hell. And this hell is also, they define something else, right? They define like the hot hell is very hot, cold hell is very cold. And then if they see themselves in the hot hell, they are burning. If they see themselves in the cold hell, they are shivering and kind of their body, falling into pieces, becoming frozen. And it's miserable. It's all appearance, right? So these appearances come in their bare mind, and they take that as real. And so they are not in hell, but their mind is already in hell, because their mind see this, the appearance, it comes, and then they believe the appearance is the true. So that is why, like one time I was, in my center in Arizona, and this one person, and she was ordained actually, and somehow she had a lot of information. I don't know, some master told her that you have to have a renunciation. So the renunciation, they're talking a lot about the negativity of the samsara. And maybe because she sees a lot of negativity of the samsara, and then she kind of get a renunciation, and then she was ordained as a nun. And that the whole purpose why she become a nun is because she doesn't want to go to hell. So they kind of give this suggestion saying that, to not to go to hell, then you have to become a nun. But even after she become a nun, what happened is she still didn't get over it. She still thinks that she's going to hell. And she came there, and I feel sorry actually, because she did the prostration, and she believes, okay, you are, Master Rinpoche, and today why I'm here is I am really scared that I will die soon, and then after I die, I will go to hell. And so please help me, like that. So I'm like, actually, I'm not kind of savior, right? Like, I'm not kind of savior. And you are kind of like the way you are dealing with your own mind right now is don't worry that you will go to hell. You are already in hell, I said to her. You are. So now you know that you are in hell. When you know that you are in hell, don't stop. Just keep going. Right? You get out of that situation. You have to get out of that situation. Because it's like now, actually it is kind of like you should get out of this fear. Because this fear is because you are already in hell. So just kind of like now what we have to do is you have to get rid of that fear. If you get rid of that fear, then you are out of hell. So that's kind of like many times our mind believes whatever it appears, right? This appearance in our mind made with so many different conditions, right? Sometimes it is just superstitiously believing that. Sometimes maybe it is like your parents believe in that. It is not their bad intention, but that is what they believe, and they put that in their kids, children's head. Kind of like it is not because of they have a bad intention. It's just because they don't know. They don't know. Because they were trained that way, and they are trying to train, their kids that way. So somehow there are so many outer sort of like information and brainwashing information, and then at the same time, like in our own life, we too face a lot of unnecessary suffering, and because of all these come together, and then it's kind of like it is very easy to become a negative person. It is very easy to believe whatever it appears in our head, and that is kind of like the lack of wisdom. So to be able to have a wisdom, the first step is we need to understand the appearance and the existence. So just kind of like that is the first step. First step of, okay, so even when you see many appearance, even like when you sit in your room and then you're alone and you're just imagining things and you see many different appearance, it is okay. Don't try to stop that, because you cannot stop thoughts. Your mind, it will kind of like you will think, even though you say I don't want to think about it, you will think. And the more you say I don't want to think this specific thing, and the more actually you suppress it, the mind become more, just kind of it will come more that you cannot stop thinking about it. So that is why when you are dealing with your mind, when your mind has all this different appearance, the wisdom way of dealing with it is let it have all these thoughts. If you are having some kind of negative appearance or negative thoughts, then just kind of like, okay, you should acknowledge it. Okay, here comes. Now, these negative thoughts, it is in my mind. And so this is in my appearance. And then it is just kind of like sometime in a kind of like a wisdom way of approaching our own negative thought is like, it is just kind of, you have fun with your own thoughts. It's just kind of like, you should just kind of like clearly say to your mind, that's so silly. Why are you thinking that way? It is this like appearing like this. And so this appearance, it's just so silly. Like try to look and with a kind of like a cosmic joke. This is just kind of, okay, this is funny like that. This is don't take it too seriously. Right? Don't take seriously about what is appearing in your mind. Then when you actually look at it, okay, this is the appearance. Now I acknowledge that this is just the appearance, and okay, just kind of like before what you were doing with that appearance is because you don't feel good when you see this appearance. Now you should change the way you deal with it. How you change is, before I always try to run away. Before I always try to, no, like, trying to shut down, right? So now today I changed. Just think, that's the wisdom way of dealing. Today I changed. And how I'm going to deal with it now, differently. Because always I deal with that in the same way and I always fall into the same trap. So now today I'm going to change the way how I deal with my own negative appearance and negative thoughts, and let us see, okay, get it on. So it's kind of like you are actually looking at your own, so you are kind of like not running away and just kind of, your attitude is you are facing it. You are facing it and you are standing there, and with this bring it on attitude. Okay, go. Now give me more appearance, right? And then there's a trick there, because when you actually stand there and then look at it, then you will see how it is illusion-like. That is what you will see. Illusion-like, you will see, oh, this is just illusion-like. It is just a mind story. It is just my own interpretation, and I'm just interpreting it that way. I'm making story like that, and who is making the story? I'm making it. My mind is making it, and so is it necessarily need to be true? Is it real? Then you will understand it is not real. It is not true. Think whatever is happening, it is happening in my head, and it is not true. So this is the beginning of your wisdom. So that is why in this chapter it is always talking about illusion-like appearance, existence, right? So that is how to bring this kind of a wisdom, because sometimes we believe that the wisdom is something that somebody will, Manjushri will come and hit his sword on your head, and then boom. And we kind of like expect that way, right? Or just kind of like sometimes we say, okay, maybe Buddha will come and just, hey, silly, just hit on my head, and then, okay, enlighten. We always wanted easy way, right? And that's why just kind of like saying, okay, God will just come and pick me up and save me, right? And that's I think everybody wish that. And who doesn't want? Nobody wants to take responsibility, right? It's just kind of like we all wanted to be freed. Like freedom is the one thing that we all want, but the freedom comes with the, responsibility. When you are free, that means you have a responsibility. And so it is contradiction in our own mind. Nobody wants to take a responsibility, but everybody wants to be free, right? So freedom, then this talk about freedom, but even in the political level, it is like that. If you, like people are saying, okay, I want to have a freedom. And then, just kind of like when you are freedom, you are free, that time you actually have a lot of responsibility, right? The same thing, I always like this, one quote from the Spider-Man, right? The great powers comes with the great responsibilities, right? The Spider-Man, I think his stepfather, when just before he was dying in the story, I like that one, because it is so true. Because, everybody, we all want to have a power, right? We all want to have a power, like a power to change, power to do like things, like abnormal thing. But when you have a power, what happens is you get more responsibility. But then what happens is people want power, but they don't want responsibility. And so great power comes with the responsibility, right? So if you don't want to take responsibility, then you, like, the power is like a not power, actually. See, that's the same thing. I think the freedom, or kind of like a, so anyway, this kind of wisdom, like when we actually look at the mind, the appearance, things that appears in our mind, it's a very kind of, what do you call, mesmerizing. If you actually know how to deal with it, it's not overwhelming. Actually, it is more fun. That is why many great meditators, when they are in meditation, it's fun. Like, it looks like they are just, okay, they are doing nothing and they are bored. They are not bored. Right? They are having more fun than us. Right? They are having more fun. It's kind of like, but in the outside appearance, it's just like, okay, what are they doing? They are just doing nothing, and then people say that, oh, those boring people. Right? But in reality, when they actually see their own mind and how to deal with their own mind, and see the difference between appearance and existence, and everything that appears in my mind, it's not true. And many of the suffering that in our daily life, we are suffering. We are kind of like emotionally suffering, mentally suffering because of this negative mind. And this negative mind is a mind that is complicated one. Very complicated. Just kind of, okay, it is like your mind makes this all appearance, and then your mind forget that you made it yourself, and so then, just kind of like a, what do you call? Just kind of get deluded in that. So that is the lack of wisdom. So that is why I think in many of these texts, when Master Shantideva says about the appearance and existence, this is like something how to take in our daily life, because we have to develop our mental ability with the mundane thing, right? With the mundane thing, and it is kind of like and that is why, like in some of the highest yoga tantra, like the profound meditation, just kind of like you kind of identifying yourself with the divine being, sort of like I am the divine, and also this divine is sort of like from, like, when we actually generate this, we generate from the emptiness, right? From the emptiness, meaning the observer is the understanding of the truth. And then Dedoni Sumebe Yishi, that is the word we say, the non-dual, right? The bliss and emptiness, non-dual. And that, by nature, it is that. In appearance, it appears into a divine form. So you're like, so when you actually really identify yourself as a divine being, not only on the physical level, right, on the form, okay, now I visualize myself as this divine self, which is the green Tara, or, like any kind of like a divine, like a, enlightened being. But not only on the physical level. You have to bring that on your emotional level. It's just kind of like on the emotional level. If you, like, for example, when you reach to that level of being a green Tara, what is the green Tara emotion? Green Tara emotion is very loving, kindness to all the sentient beings, right? So not just on the physical level you are visualizing yourself, but also on the emotional level, you are invoking your green Tara emotion, which is the love and compassion and all this quality. There are millions of emotional qualities in the green Tara, enlightened being. If you don't understand what I'm saying about the green Tara, but just kind of like a enlightenment, right? Enlightened self. And again, if you don't understand what is the enlightened self, and sometimes I just kind of put it in a very simple English language that everybody can understand. It's like a best self. Your best self. That is, we cannot deny, right? As a person, when we say I am, myself, how are you identifying yourself most of the time? We are identifying ourselves as a very miserable person. That is what we do in samsara. So if you identify yourself as a miserable, you will become miserable. So that is the simple fact. If you, identify yourself as a angry person, you will become angry. Anger will come. So on the contrary, on the other side, if you identify yourself as a loving person, happy person, right? If you identify, that is the training. We have to learn how to identify ourselves as a positive person. If we identify, that is what it is. Normally, how do you identify? That is the question. In your day-to-day life, as you are living your life, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as a happy person? That means you are happy. Do you see yourself as a miserable person? That means you are miserable. See, simple. So there is how we identify ourselves. That is why all the tantric practice are like that. That is why we visualize ourselves as a green Tara. We visualize ourselves as a Yamantaka. We visualize as this enlightened, different enlightened form. But simple, even we don't go into that kind of thing, but just simple, how we identify ourselves. And myself. So myself has many different level, right? Many different level. Sometimes we identify ourselves as a worse self, right? Very bad self. Sometimes we identify ourselves as just a normal self. And sometimes we identify ourselves as a very good self. So this good self, do you think that this good self has the ability to become better? That's just a simple question. Do you think that yourself, what do you really believe? Do you believe that you will become better? That is optimistic. That's more positive way of thinking, right? It's saying, I think I can become better. And I will do something that I will become better. So if you put this kind of mission in your life, okay, I think every day, every moment, I will try to make myself better person, right? To become better and better and better. And this ability to become better and better, then, when you become the better and better, is there some level that I will become my best self? You can imagine that, right? Say, when I become my best self, what would I be like? How do I look like? How do I look like? What will be my emotion? At that time, when I become my best self, I will look all sentient being as equal. Will I look at all the sentient beings with the loving eyes? Will I be very compassionate? All these are kind of qualities, right? The quality. So this is enlightenment means your best level of self. So to become your best level of self, so realistically, it is possible. It is possible. You can, right? We all can. That is what we value, how much value we are putting. Like when we actually believe that I can become my best self. So from the Buddhist, what we call it Buddhahood, enlightenment. That is what is like if you go into the enlightenment, what is enlightenment? That is the self. That is when you attain your best self level or state, and that is you achieve. So you can, through the training, what can you do is you can actually starting to identify. You can actually start, you don't have to delay. You just don't have to say, okay, from tomorrow I will do that. then that has become a mañana. Right? Mañana is always there. Tomorrow is always there. Later is always there. That is we always say, okay, when I am ready, I will identify myself as the best self. And then if we ask ourselves, when is the time? When you are really ready? And that ready will never come. There's always something to do, right? It's just kind of okay, so whenever I'm ready. And then many times what we are saying is, you know what, I'm not ready. And we are always looking for external condition. And when, if we go very realistic about when will I be ready? What is the condition? What are the conditions? Then we make so many conditions. Those conditions really all unrealistic. Why? Because the condition that we put when we are ready is it has to be perfect weather. Right? It has to be perfect weather. I cannot do it under a very cold weather. I cannot do it in a very hot weather. I cannot do it when it is raining. I cannot do it when it's sunny. I cannot do it if it is cloudy. See, all this, so there's we make ourselves an excuse. So everything has to be perfect, waiting for this perfect moment. And this perfect moment is if we look at how many conditions that we put on that. And then we have to be perfect physical condition. Right? That is another condition that we say. Perfect. It's like a perfection. And then I have to be perfectly secure. Right? That's what we say again. Secure. Financially secure. Right? That is another trick in samsara. Because we kind of okay, so finance is very important and I have to secure. So when will, if you really look at that, when will you become totally financially secure? That's a very tricky one, right? That's why people are never content with what they have. It's just kind of when you don't have anything, right? When you are penniless, you must be thinking when I have a $10,000, I will be financially stable, right? Then you reach one day, you reach that level of having a $10,000 for your life, and then you're oh no, too expensive these days, right? Too expensive. So now what I want is maybe I need to make it 100,000. You reach there, again not enough. Again you will say million. So the number will keep going. Number will keep going. So that is this kind of condition we make ourselves. So that is why we don't have to make those conditions. We don't have to wait for the perfect moment. To tell you the truth, there is no perfect moment. In the future. So perfect moment is right now. This is the moment. This is in our hand. The rest of all other moments are just in our imagination. So just kind of do as much as we can while we are able to do. When we have the ability. So this is a kind of like this kind of a discussion. So I'm like, you need to do this discussion with yourself. Here I'm not telling you or judging you, because it is like I am kind of challenging our mind. Right? Our mind. This is the samsaric mind. The samsaric mind think that way, and it is very tricky. And it will always give you sort of like what do you call? It will push you later. And this later is kind of like very tricky. So, wisdom, like when we have an ability to apply the wisdom, understanding the appearance and existent things. So do it from now. Just right now, maybe you are having so many different thoughts, and look at those thoughts and see what is it appears like. Is it like an illusion or not? See, then you will understand. You will understand more and more illusion like, and the more and more you understand illusion like, the more and more wisdom you are gaining. Okay? All right. Okay, so then establishing as the path of knowledge that deceptive truth are like illusion, right? So the question, even if one knows that all phenomena are like an illusion, how will disturbing conception be turned away? For instance, a magician who creates an illusory woman can still have desire for her. So that is a good point, right? So for example, like even if you don't like there's just the mundane appearance, right? Sometimes the illusion, like what do you call? The magician creates a very beautiful image of the person, like attractive, like a very attractive image. And he will look at that attractive image, even though he understands that is a magic, it's illusion, and he will still have an attachment, saying that, wow, I created something beautiful, right? Something nice, something attractive, and looking at the appearance, he will still have an attraction. He will still have a kind of attachment. So that is what the point is saying. Even though you understand the appearance is not real, you will still get. So see what Madhyamika will say. Answer. The creator of this illusion has not abandoned the tendency of the disturbing conception of desire toward knowable entities such as, women, if you are attracted to women. Therefore, when he sees the illusory woman, the tendency to see her emptiness is very weak. So that is, even though understanding it is not real, but still he believes that whatever he sees exists itself, but not as an attractive object, but it as an object, right? They will see as what do you call, by existing itself. So inherently exist. So this is why the root cause of the suffering, the attachment, is not that kind of ignorance, but root cause of the attachment is the what do you call, ignorance. The ignorance which don't see the emptiness nature. He still doesn't see the emptiness nature. That's what it is, the answer, Although the illusion may be understood to be empty of being a real woman through not understanding phenomena to be empty and true existent, and the tendency of desire are aroused, but through developing the tendency to know all phenomena as empty. So this is now, Shantideva is actually saying, just don't satisfy it with the simple mundane wisdom. Okay, this is just a mundane wisdom. That is like almost like the first step of the wisdom. It is not the real wisdom. Understanding the appearance is not as it appears, is not the real wisdom. It is just the path to the wisdom. So that much will not do. What you have to do is you still have to go beyond. That is just like a stepstone. Okay, so to go beyond, and beyond what you have to do is you have to understand that they are not inherently exist. So not inherently exist. When you understand the not inherently exist, then you understand the emptiness nature, and that will actually kind of like overcome from the attachment and hatred and all the delusions. The tendency of apprehending things as truly exist will be abandoned, and through familiarizing oneself with the fact that no phenomena, emptinesses as well as deceptive truth are established as truly existent in the future, the apprehension of emptiness as well as false phenomena to be truly existent will be abandoned. At this time, it will be impossible for any disturbing conception to occur. When it is said that no thing exists, this means that the things to be negated is the true existence, which is under examination, is not to be apprehended. At that time, since true existence, the basis in dependence upon which the no true existence is posited, is removed, how can no turn existence remain before the mind as truly existence? Just as the son of the barren woman who does not exist, neither does his dying. Once neither a thing nor a no thing, which is it is emptiness, remain before the mind, then as there is no other alternative, such as something being both a thing and a nothing, or being neither or thing, nor a no thing. Finally, the mind that apprehends truly existent object will cease and be totally pacified. So this is kind of a little bit deep, because it is kind of going a little bit deeper into the, deep wisdom. So that is why maybe some of these words are kind of a little bit over the head. Because you like, okay, what are they talking about? No exist, no exist. But so actually, to make it the point clear, here saying that the things that exist, right? When we say things that exist, so do they exist by itself? By itself? Or just it is exists because there are other things? Right? This is because there are other things. But what we see is we see everything, including ourselves, that we are just there, and every kind of there is a space for everything. Like there is a space for me, there is a space for you, there is a space for this cup. So on the space, in that space of the cup, this cup is there. And how do we see it? See it as it is there, like really there, by itself. So that is the really kind of going deep into the, it is not really there. So then when we say it is not really there, then there is you can actually fall into nihilistic. It's okay, if it is not there, then how come it is, how come it is functioning? It is holding the water, and it is, when I use it, I'm drinking it. That all contradicts, right? So that is why on the conventional level, it is there, but on the ultimate level, it is not there. So that is what they are saying, exist, non-exist, like, so this is like a big differentiation that they are making. So this is a little bit difficult to express in word. So kind of like, it is going into the true nature, right? Like it's a true. So somehow, like just kind of using that first step of appearance and existent thing, and then you have to do a little bit of contemplation. Okay, so just kind of like contemplate, analytical meditation. So you have to analyze it more and more. The more you analyze and kind of like explore, right? The more explore, then you will understand more and more. It's like tasting the chocolate. It's just kind of like it is something like Shantideva and the Buddha, and I explained, right? I explained that I already sort of like opened the gate for you. So I opened the gate for you. Now it is your job, if you really want to understand what Shantideva is saying, what is this all, then you have to go in, explore in your mind. Just kind of like looking at this appearance and existence, and how this appearance, how I'm taking it. And so that is why here comes the analytical meditation. So you just kind of like not just reading the book, you will understand. Not just listening to the teaching, you will not understand. If you really want to understand, then you have to sit back and then stop. And then that's called the meditation. Analytical meditation. All right? Okay, I think we are running out of time here. And so we will stop here for tonight. Okay? And we have a teaching next week. Right? Next week, continue. But Tuesday, actually we scheduled for this teaching. But Tuesday is one very special day, Gyanda Seju, which is the Vajrayogini day, and once in a year, on the 25th of the 11th month in Tibetan calendar, we consider it as a very special Dakini day, and so we will do the talk. We will do the talk here, and we will do the talk, our regular Lama Choepa talk. Lama Choepa prayers, preliminary, and then when it comes to actually they are kind of pretty same from the wording. Like when we do the Vajrayogini, there is some word that we will add. So I think Jamin will know how to put the word there. So we will put the Vajrayogini word there. And even if you haven't received the Vajrayogini initiation or blessing, even if if you want to join, you are allowed to join. All right. All right. So thank you, and kanjiba teda tamje chalen la pheba chin ne jang ka din jong ra shu da ge jinye sa ben ge wa de ten dan ro wa ku la kan ben da ke bran je zo lo san ta ben be ning bo rin do se je shu.
Page 5, the bottom short mandala offering.
Medo Dhamma Rira Nichi Ninte Genpa Di Sangye Shindo Mide Uwai Togo Nanda Shina Joga Sho Mendala Kamne Reya Dayami.
Last page, the short final
Recording here.
Choge Maya Baya Yam Baya Chodeni Inje Chembo Yera Gyobayi Pende De tam be zin ben gyuru mo rawe kome shin dang de pe dang de wa ma lu jung we ne che re se wa ten zi gya so yi sha pe si de pa lu ten gyuru chi ye sun san zo tam be sun gu yi yong ju den la ten be be yong zo ngong re sa me pe gu jung ba la da me ten be pe du sha de sho sim je tam je de dang den gyuru chi nyan zho tam je ta du tong wa tang chan ju sen pa ka na su ju pa te da kun ge mo lang ju yu chi chan ju sen ju rinpoche ma ke pa na ke gyuru chi ke pa nyam ba be ba yang o ne kon du